So here we are. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new European Bauhaus, Triennale Milano bilateral meetings with European cultural representations in Milano. My name is Marco Sammicheli, and I'm the International Relations Chief Officer of Triennale di Milano. I'm very happy to host this first episode of a series of conversation which will take place here on the digital platform of Triennale, open and free of charge, and in collaboration with the Cultural Institutes, part of the network of UNIQUE. We are opening this first episode in collaboration with the Goethe-Institut Mailand, and we couldn't do it differently because if a format is entitled to a new European Bauhaus, we had to start from where the Bauhaus started in 1919, 101 years ago in Germany. Since its foundation, Triennale Milano has hosted the research and the language of the international creative community. Since 1933, it has been part of the BAI, Bureau International des Expositions, and every 3 years it organizes an international exhibition which, with a system of national pavilions, presents the most relevant innovations in the fields of architecture, urban planning, design, and new media. In attempt to pursue this target, Triennale Milano listened to the message of the European Commission that in October 2020, so last month, launched the project of a new European Bauhaus, a movement of thought, a platform, a call to participation that aims to involve cultural institutions, universities, associations, and the widest possible pool of citizens. For the President of the European Commission, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the themes of social and economic development, investment in a future based on environmental sustainability and the values of each community are the result of the networking of complex and widespread knowledge, such as design, architecture, demography, new technologies, and study of renewable energy. These are the topics of the new Bauhaus, the new European Bauhaus that must promote to tackle the environmental crisis of the planet. So Triennale Milano has decided to create a series of digital conferences in collaboration with the diplomatic and cultural representatives of Europe countries. It has had academic relations with, organized exhibition for, and made publication for almost a century, and has entered into collaboration agreements. Starting from this end of November 2020, through this digital format, which is open and free of charge, Triennale Milano is inviting curators, designers, scholars, and museum directors to think about the theme proposed by the European Commission, to share ideas, comments, proposals, and practices at a very delicate moment in the European and world history, where it is necessary to rethink the tools, the approaches, the dynamics of cultural exchange, exhibitions, and value creation in the creative process. We inaugurate this series with the Goethe-Institut Mailand, and I'm going to leave the floor to the director, Katrin Ostwald-Richter, because she will introduce our group of guests and we will start our conversation. So thank you once again and welcome you to Triennale Milano, New European Bauhaus. Please, Katrin, it's yours. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Marco. Good evening to all of you and a very warm welcome from the side of the Goethe-Institut Mailand and its team. Thank you all for being part of it, and thanks to the Triennale for having this idea about these talks regarding the new Bauhaus movement. We've invited participants who, as a group, are at one hand quite diverse: curators, directors of arts and crafts, museums, designers, and artists, but on the other hand, they have a lot in common we will see later. This polyphony with an even European background of some which we gather here under Germany is particularly fascinating. To our great regret, Tulga Beyerle is not able to attend tonight for health reasons. We wish her a quick recovery and all the best. I now have the honor to welcome and introduce now Claudia Banz. Born in South Germany, she has been curator for design at the Kunstgewerbemuseum Berlin since 2017. She established the Design Lab series as well as design talks to open the museum as a platform, as an experimental space and critical discourses, especially on social design issues. Her motto could be described as bringing the current design discourse into the museum. Her wonderful exhibition, Food Revolution 5.0, designed for the society of tomorrow, conveyed subtle provocation on the one hand and a realistic vision of the future on the other. Willy Dumas is a young designer for playing and learning, and together with his team, he founded the Büro für Sinn und Unsinn. In English, it would be Bureau for Meaning and Nonsense in Halle and Leipzig. The interdisciplinary design team conceives and designs playful objects and interactions, be it interactive exhibitions for children's museums, educational simulation games, or a charming game idea machine. We saw an escape room created together with young people, which was a very ambitious project about the topic of freedom, what this means for them, whether they see it as guaranteed or if they also feel the fragility of it. Now we come to Margit Jäschke, designer and artist. First words about her I found in the net, surprise included. She lives and works in Halle and Berlin and describes herself as a wanderer between the worlds of different arts, defying the conventional bounds of installation, painting, sculpture, and jewelry design. She has created an entirely distinctive oeuvre with fascinating forms. In the middle of this corona crisis, she was asked, "What occupies your creativity right now?" And she answered, "How strongly we and the world are bound in the network, how one cogwheel fits into another. I've never understood it more than I do." Last but not least, here we see Mario Antonioli, a young designer for product design like transportation and concept design as well. Having his studio in Munich, he is at the same time the senior designer of the studio Walter de Silva. Walter de Silva, after being one of the world's best and famous designers for Italian and German cars, is now the leader of his new brand, Architecture and Design, consistent with his world of innovation and technique, blend with his poets and dreams of designing elegant evening shoes. He once was quoted, "I consider the configuration of the heel as an architectural element of absolute stylistic innovation." So, you are all united, if I may so, in your desire to make the world better and a more beautiful place. And now comes this EU call within the framework of the Green Deal about a new European Bauhaus. And now the floor is yours, Marco.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Katrin, for the introduction and to portray very briefly the profiles that will help us to go further in the conversation and in the comments of this new European Bauhaus. Of course, the design community was quite impressed by the fact that in a political act from the European Commission, not only the word design was mentioned, but to the design was given in a very strong way the power as a social agent of transformation. In the design community, this debate has been up and very clear in many levels, in schools, in museums, in Biennale, and different activities. So on one side, we are very happy to hear that the European Commission is not just recognizing, but is calling designers, architects, artists, scientists, students to work together, but also we are here, and we will do it with France tomorrow, with the Netherlands on December 10th, and with many other European countries in the next upcoming weeks. We are here to talk about and to find out how this statement can be translated and digested by the design community to actively contribute. Because if I'm reading from Ursula von der Leyen's statement, the new European Bauhaus is intended to be a bridge, okay, between the world of science and technology and the world of art and culture. Good design with sustainability. And it will be a forum for discussion, an experimentation lab, an accelerator for new solutions, a hub for global networks and experts, a meeting place of citizens' interest in topic. And there will be 3 phases: a design phase to explore ideas and shape the movement, a second phase where 5 new European Bauhaus projects will take place and start in different EU member states. And then there will be the third phase out of spreading the ideas. I would like to start with Claudia Banz, curator at the Kunstgewerbemuseum in Berlin. First, to contextualize Bauhaus, because we are just in 2020, and last year there was a massive celebration, not only in Germany, but in Europe, in countries like Israel, India, the United States of America, Brazil, of the great impact of Bauhaus, the original Bauhaus from 1919 to 1933. The impact in furniture, in applied arts, in architecture, in education. So my first question to Claudia Banz is about how this extremely muscular legacy is interacting with the design community in Germany.
First of all, hello to everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to the talk. Well, I think the celebration of the Bauhaus last year had a huge impact. I thought it was quite impressive that there was such political power supporting this huge idea, and also supplying the celebration with a huge funding, which of course is always important, as we know, for the cultural sector. And I think the most interesting for me of the Bauhaus celebration is that the model itself, Bauhaus as a school, as a teaching platform, which brought together really avant-garde artists, big masters with young people to learn, to generate new ideas about the current situation. And I think what more to say? It was we had a lot of important projects, and it really can show what big impact culture and designing has for the society. And I think this was the most important message, because already at the beginning of the 20th century there was this huge idea and vision of being able to transform the society via design. We all know the history of the Art Nouveau movement. And then in the 1920s, it was the Bauhaus. And after World War II, there were other schools like the Ulmer Hochschule für Gestaltung, and who tried to catch up with this idea that we all need culture to change the society. So.
Okay, sorry. So this was the impact, but of course we are here not just to think about the past, but to hear from your position as a curator of a prestigious cultural institution, what was your reaction when the European Commission named the Bauhaus as a new possible platform for exchange and for building new bridges between science and culture, between industry and education, also not mentioning the usual subjects and disciplines of Bauhaus, such as design and architecture, but also calling demography and natural building materials, energy efficient. So we're not just topics, but also actions.
Yeah. I think any initiative on the part of politicians aimed to achieve sustainable improvements are very welcome. And I also very happy to hear that, there will be a holistic thinking laboratory where we can deal with actual issues and help with the help of European funding. But well, if I would be an architect, what I'm not, I would be very angry because as we all know, there are a lot of visions, there are a lot of proposals, there's a lot of knowledge how we can improve, especially the building industry. And I think, to my point of view, the biggest inhibitor to the implementation of all these visions is politics itself. Because the other side of the coin is that there are public purchasing rights, which require that the cheapest offer is always selected. And all of us who work with public institutions or for public clients are well aware of this, and architects in particular. And so I think, in my view, the real problem is that politics must first reform itself in the sense of a circular society. And I would really like to introduce this notion of circular society, because from what I understood from the paper of the new Bauhaus, we are talking mostly about a circular economy. But I think this concept is, for me, not, it misses a lot, especially the social part of this transformation process. And so I think the political laws must be changed first. So we need a strengthening of laws and governance. We need a support of better plannings. And we need to develop national action plans, because there are, for instance, the architects of the future in Germany who already thinking about a transformation, and they asking the politics to change laws, etc. And if we really want, if the Bauhaus, the new Bauhaus, can have a real long-lasting impact on the society, I think we first need to strengthen the laws in terms of enable all those designers, the creative community to come up with their ideas and to really implement them, because there's a lot of knowledge already there on this planet. So, but it's difficult to because of all the restrictions to implement them.
So Claudia, this idea of transferring this amount of knowledge that is already in the hands of a wider class of creative profiles has to be, in your opinion, pushed forward to the politicians before even acting or starting the process. Is this what you call circular society?
Yeah, I think that the circular society goes beyond the notion of this circular.
Circular economy.
Yeah, circular economy, because in my opinion, the circular society is a very interesting concept because it's intended to be a societal vision where ecosphere, technosphere, and sociosphere are in a balance and ruled by economic practices that serve consistently and exclusively for social well-being within planetary boundaries. So we really need to create a resilient and sustainable metabolism, and we don't need more lighthouse projects, because I am afraid that at the end this will remain lighthouse projects and they will not really have a long-lasting impact on our society.
So to underline your conclusion, I mean, what you see as a critical point at this moment is that the possible new European Bauhaus would be just a statement. When you mentioned the lighthouse, would be just something like an idea and not a practice, and not just a platform, but you would love also to be a protocol.
Yeah, so this is really my fear, because we all know, as you curate this type of exhibitions, many other curators, if you look at the biennials, there are a lot of critical exhibitions, and we using these exhibitions as platforms to foster all these wonderful projects around the world. There are so many NGOs about circular economy, circular society, but they all remain in a niche. So, this is really my crucial point. So the knowledge is there already, and but we need the political platforms. We need really the stakeholders also in the industry. If we're talking about a building industry, we need all the stakeholders in the industry, the global players, to make it a broad movement, and not only, I mean, we can continue for ages to create one lighthouse project after the other, but I mean, the whole society should be, the other way around, lighthouse projects stay in a bubble, and we have to bring it to the whole society, also across all social and national levels. I think this is also very important, that it doesn't remain. She's also talking about Europe should be the first continent to become a climate neutral continent, but what is with the rest of the world? So I think it's really a bit narrow-minded in my point of view.
Let's say that for sure inclusivity is one of the elements to underline, and also to open the discussion to other continents. Of course, as a European Commission statement, the name European and the context of Europe had to be the starting point. But of course, I understand your critical, and I also take the advantage of your position to pass to Margit Jäschke. And my first question to artist, designer, and educator Jäschke is about how to come out from this niche and how to make this amount of knowledge relevant in a political action. We can hear you now. Can we open the mic to Margit Jäschke? Margit, can you please try to talk? I asked my colleague to open Margit.
Now.
Okay, yes. Now we can hear you. Thank you, Margit, please.
I think the idea of the new Bauhaus is interesting to my mind. It is exciting to transfer the idea of a holistic thinking space into our time. Bauhaus is timeless. This sums up the 100 years anniversary celebration of Bauhaus in 2019. And Saxonia-Anhalt, the state in which I live and work, celebrated this with the slogan, "Rethink the World." And this is, I think this is a good starting point worldwide, and especially for Europe, to my mind. For me, the question is, how do we deal with the traditions and the heritage? Is this rigid? We can use our old ideas and create new ones. For me, is this a creative way of dealing with the past?
So you're mentioning that the one point for you is how to deal with the heritage, and is this also a reflect on your practice, or because we are inviting to this platform not only curators or director of museum or intellectuals, but also professionals that in their everyday practice, in school, in ateliers, in the market, they deal with the legacy, in this case of the, as you mentioned, but also with their contemporary practice. What's your point of view about it?
This is, I think the Bauhaus was and is very important to me. I was born in Halle, and when I was a child, I grew up with a lot of buildings from the 20s around me, and I didn't know that this was the spirit of Bauhaus. It was just my home. For example, a friend of mine, she was a granddaughter of Charles Crodel. Charles Crodel was a famous painter in the 20s. He was professor at the Burg Giebelstein University of Art and Design, this is the name today, from 1927 to 1933. The Bauhaus shaped his work a lot, and this granddaughter, she was living in his house and in his apartment and under the roof, and the apartment was full frescoes by Charles Crodel, and I liked it. This house was, the architect was Johannes Niemeyer. I liked it very much, but the meaning became clearer to me only in later years. The Bauhaus became even more important for me in my formative years in art. I studied in the 18th at the University of Art and Design in Halle. And this is a big artist school with long traditions. 1915 was founded this school from Paul Tirsch, and Paul Tirsch founded this school with well-known Bauhaus numbers. And this was very important. After the dissolution of the Bauhaus in Weimar, many teachers came to the school in Halle, and this has shaped the education in art with small historical interruption until today, of course. Many Bauhaus ideas flowed into my training. For example, we had the basis and color theory, which was based a lot on Johannes Eden's teaching. For example, form follows function as a basis for my work until today. Combining art and craft, this idea from Bauhaus still shapes my work. Craft is very important to me, but craft is one point. The second point is art. I'm an artist.
We perfectly understand how this heritage for you is like a livable memory, and how this memory is continuing shaping your work. Regarding to the statement of the new European Bauhaus, what's your point of view in the sense how this new platform can also tickle your everyday work, and also not just you, but people that they work in the design industry, in the ateliers, or teaching in applied arts academies or design universities?
I think the discussions is the first point. Such discussions going behind national borders are extremely important. networking in terms of thought, projects and talks are always an enrichment. And in the second step, of course, after the work.
Thank you very much, Margit Jäschke. Thank you for this contribution also, because it deals with the memory and also of a context, because we are talking about the new European Bauhaus, but we're also here to listen to a specific point of view of curators, designers, and professionals that they are based and they live in Germany. And this gives me the opportunity to move to another profile that is with us, and it's Willy Dumas, which is a newly graduated French graphic designer that is now based in Germany, and his research works between the digital world, the graphic design, and the visual communication. And I would love to hear from Willy Dumas first his position about the legacy of this very memorable moment of the historical Bauhaus, and then after what was his reaction after the statement of Ursula von der Leyen about the new possible European Bauhaus.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm a designer for playing and learning, and I also studied at the Burg Giebichenstein art school, art and design school, like Margit Jäschke. And yeah, there are a lot of parallels between the Bauhaus and the so-called Burg, this art school. So I'm very influenced by Bauhaus way of thinking, and there's a very special profession in this art school, which is called design for playing and learning. And it's basically like industrial design, but focused on playing and learning. So it's industrial design enriched with educational thinking and psychology. And so I'm very grateful to having had this kind of training. And I feel that Bauhaus and playing and learning has a lot of things in common. There are a lot of there's something experimental about Bauhaus, something try to see things in a new way, try to experiment with things, to try new paths, and this is something that is very inherent in play. Maybe I can show you what I'm like working on at the moment, because then I can build the bridge to what does this new Bauhaus mean to me. So
yes,
I will
please.
try. So if you can let me share my screen.
Yeah, we allow you now to share your screen. Wait just a second.
Not yet.
Not yet. Is it that I'm asking my colleagues to allow Willy Dumas to share his screen and show few slides?
So you have to.
Yeah. No. While they're trying to do it, if you can continue. Willy, thank you.
So what I am doing is I'm inventing play and educational things, and I think for me it's a very important profession, because because the future is being made by children, by young people, and it's a great honor to help them to strengthen their own vision of how they want to live, and especially in a situation that we have now. It's not a climate change, it's it's a climate crisis, or even if we let it be a climate catastrophe, we need to talk about how can we survive on this planet. There's no other way around, and we need to empower those new people, those children, to be able to think of new ways to live, to be very brave about it, to stay positive, to stay confident, and this is something that play can do.
Sorry, Willie, you must be activated now to able to present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will share my screen to show you so what I'm talking about. So can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So what I do, or what we do, is we conceive and design hands-on exhibits for children to play and to learn, and we make educational games, be it digital or analog, and we give workshops to empower people to invent their own ideas of how to play, how to learn, how to live. So yeah, we make games that tour through schools for a couple of years, when we design together with children's museums, for example, the Children's Museum of Berlin. We invented a game idea machine that is also in the new Bauhaus in Dessau, in the museum, where people can try things out. And we make games or playful interactions that let people reinvent the future. For example, we made this QR code on the marketplace, and when people scan it, they can dive into a vision of a green city. They can look around and see everything completely transformed. And yeah, of course, it's not a political proposal exactly, but it's a way to inspire people, I guess, to see how things could be differently. And also, we don't see sustainability only from an ecological point of view, because the climate crisis is also a crisis of justice, of climate justice. If a big part of the earth will be inhabitable in a couple of years, people will die if they don't migrate. And our societies need to cope with that, to be able to help each other, to be solidarian with each other. And this is why we make games that teach about what is migration and why do people migrate? What does this mean? And we do this, we make those games together with young people of all ethnicities, and we make escape games that teach about the political implications of what is freedom, what does freedom mean to you? So we don't see sustainability only from an ecological point of view, but also from a societal and political point of view. So participation and inclusion is very important to be able to cope with the problems that we have now and to find the solutions of the future. So we work in anti-racist and societal projects for political education. So this is why when I heard that Ursula von der Leyen, sorry, I will stop the screen sharing.
Yeah, so we are back to you.
So when I read that Ursula von der Leyen and the EU Commission said that they want a new Bauhaus movement to make at least Europe find a new way of living and to find a way of living that does not destroy our planet and also our neighbors or ourselves, I was very surprised that she could make such a big bridge between politics and design. This was a big surprise for me, because also she's quite conservative, and I thought it was like, yeah, some kind of visionary. I don't know if Europe can hold up to those expectations, this throws up. But yeah, it would be great if we could reinvent ourselves, and I would like to be a part of it, to teach children and students to be brave about future, to reinvent our future, and yeah, and do it with playful thinking.
Thank you very much, Willie Dumas. Thank you for your contribution. I appreciate very much this possibility, because we don't know either what is going to be this new European Bauhaus. We don't know if it's going to be a school. Probably we won't be. We don't need a new school. Like we often say in the design business, we don't need another chair. But we definitely need a container we can fulfill with all this knowledge that Claudia was mentioning before, what with this legacy and the heritage that Margit Jäschke was saying, and also with this opportunity that what we do in our creative life in the cultural institution has a very strong political implications, because nowadays like a game is you just presented to us as climate and political issues to share, for engaging and for make participation not just a statement, but an everyday act among kids, among young students in schools or in museum environments. Thank you, Willy Dumas. And we pass, before passing to our last contribution, I ask to open the chat to our audience. It will be a bit difficult to reply to all your questions, but we want to make this move. We are almost 80 people, and we are happy that we are all following this at this hour that usually in several countries you start to cook your dinner or you want to do something else, but you are following a design talk by Triennale di Milano and Goethe-Institut Mailand. So I would love to also ask Mario Antonioli, Italian designer based in Munich, voice keeper and senior designer at Walter de Silva Studio in Munich. We invited Walter de Silva Studio because, as I mentioned multiple times during my interventions, we wanted to have with us not just intellectuals and professionals in the cultural institutions, but also designers that they have their own studio and their own practice. Of course, Walter de Silva was one of the most renowned and famous Italian designer with a great history and a great presence in Germany, and having Mario Antonioli with us, it's also a great opportunity. So Mario Antonioli, what's your reaction when you, as a member of the De Silva Studio and as a professional in Germany, when you heard about this new European Bauhaus? What was your immediate thought?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, because it's a really an interesting topic, we think. And we are really happy about this occasion, because it's since long time that we are, we say that as a studio, we are lucky that we are like, can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay, perfect. We are lucky because we got the sensor in like 3 different topics, which are the, let's say, the fashion industry with the Walter de Silva shoes, the product design industry with Walter de Silva concept design, and the automotive consulting. So we can like feel how is the vibration in all these topics. And we honestly, we think that in this period, since some years, the design needs to be reformed quite a lot, because we lost a bit the meaning of the word, of the topic of the real design. And we think that this word is a bit like misunderstood. So we need to go back to the roots of the design and to the professional design. In fact, we think that a good project comes from the wish of the designer to have a connection with the user. And we are really connected with the Bauhaus because we are in love with this picture that you can easily find on the internet, where there is the Mies van der Rohe chair, the Barcelona chair of the 29, and you got these two pictures with the Barcelona chair in 1929 and the Barcelona chair in nowadays. And it's great how you immediately recognize what is good design, because you only distinguish the age of the picture from the styling of the lady who is sitting on the chair. And that is really our aim, the daily aim in our studio. In fact, it's a bit, I can do like a bit an example, because we are trying to go back to the roots and to the meaning of the shape through, for example, one really good example is the heel that we made for Walter Silva shoes. That is really pure, is not styled. There is styling, but it's like connected to the shape of the ankles of the woman. So it's really the form, the emotion, and the shape are all a unity. And we think also that this is really a good occasion to bring the design back into the center of the project. And because design nowadays is at the center of the system. And this comes from the experience of the automotive, where a lot of times you need to make huge investments judging the design. And we strongly believe that the political and the economic have to be connected with the cultural model, but the cultural model have to generate a political model that will generate an economical model. Due to this part, you can have the growth and you can have an improvement. If we follow the economical model that generates a political model, that generates a cultural model, we will fail completely as a society. So we think that it's a good chance that they want to establish this new Bauhaus, to give the chance to the cultural model to be the base for a new development in the politics and in the economy. So we think that this is a really good point. Yeah.
Pardon. I'd like to reconnect with your initial statement about to refound the social role of the designer. If you could mention some elements that in you and Walter de Silva studio, what this means, how you're gonna give back to the role of the designer all the social elements that were important in the past and that you think they are missed in the present?
I think obviously nowadays it's getting everything more and more complicated because we got the digital, we got the data, we got all these things. Now in this period, obviously we got this situation where we are talking through a screen. So there is more and more the digital part which is coming nowadays in our daily life. And for example, the designer have the huge responsibility to put in every project to mix exactly the relation between the analogic and the digital part. Because we feel, is a feeling that we have, and that we are going straight directly thinking that the digital is absolutely the future. But we are realizing this year in 2020, realizing that we missed something. We cannot live digitally. So in the future, the designer is more responsible to equilibrate this digital part with the analogic part, with the human, because in the end we are human, we are not robot, and we will never be robot. So we can use the digital as a helper, like the augmented reality and all the new dematerialization and the new technology. But on the side, the designer have never to forget that have to design for the human being. That will always be an analogic being. And in fact, in these things, we are like trying also to it's a bit of provocation sometimes, but we had like some concepts for the mobility, because it's our topic, the urban mobility. And we suggested that probably the future will be slower in the city, because now everybody's reaching for the speed, for the huge range, for the electric and these things. But we honestly think that in the future, the city will be made by slower mobility without any stops. So we will probably replace the traffic light. We will probably have to interact. And here we got the ethical part of the design, the urban mobility with the city. So the city have to change also due to this new mobility. And we have to bring a bit back this slow motion mobility. In fact, it's a concept that we made as a provocation, is like we took Milan, for example, and instead of the railways and the tram in the center of the city, we applied a slow, let's say a slow bench which moves on the tram railways really slowly, so you can sit on it and you can go away when you want, like a ski lift. But this one is going like constantly moving at a slow speed. Because in the end, we notice that you can have like a 2 minutes in a normal subway, for example, you have 2 minutes from stop to stop, but in the end you lose a lot of time going inside, waiting for the next train, because it maybe is too crowded in the morning and like this, and you lose a lot of time and it's super chaotic. So we try to reanalyze this concept and going into this concept of the slow mobility and more, let's say, more analogic mobility.
Thank you very much, Mario Antonioli, for also mention that mobility is one of the element that we should also bring to the attention of the European Commission, and our design not only imagine as someone that will design a car, can also propose an idea of how to move inside the city. We open the chat and we have a statement or like a thought of one of our guests. Her name is Madeleine van Lennep. I apologize if I pronounce wrongly the name, and I share this question especially with Claudia Banz. She's asking if we can elaborate on teamwork, and I interpret this question as how to come out from the niche. How can we transfer this knowledge? I'm going back to your initial critique and to going slowly, but not so slowly, to the conclusion of our conversation. If we don't know what a new European Bauhaus is now, but if there's a team working an option to move from the niche to a wider audience, or also to move this knowledge and to the politician in a more effective act.
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think this is a crucial remark, teamwork. And also, if we're talking about the legacy or the heritage of the Bauhaus, I think this is exactly the point, the interdisciplinarity of teams. And it's not only the designers themselves or the architects themselves or artists themselves or whoever who can solve problems, but we really need to co-work, to collaborate, and we need all the different knowledge from all the different disciplines in order to be able to really transform our world, so to say. And I very much like the presentation of Willie Dumas, because I thought, yes, I mean, again, this is really my point. We're talking about heritage. We really have this huge amount of knowledge through centuries. So why we don't use it? So looking at schools, we mostly have still the same training system. So why we don't change it now? Also when we collaborate as curators, I think we are quite good in collaborating with different people, but also in terms of designer, sorry, I have to say, if I'm looking at art schools, I would say there is this notion of social design, and social design also means that we collaborate with people from different disciplines. And if I look at the universities, I think where's interdisciplinarity? So we constantly reintroducing this notion of teamwork, but we don't really fulfill our own how to say, our own idea of teamwork. So I'm really, yeah, I'm really missing this also in the museums where I work, or I don't know. So we still have to learn a lot to really collaborate together and to give up our hierarchies, because it's also a lot about hierarchies when we talk about teamwork, really to collaborate on equal eye level. So, and I think this was one important, sorry, just one last question, last remark. This was very interesting about the Bauhaus. As I said at the very beginning, it was really well-known avant-garde masters who collaborated with the young students. And really, I think this was one important aspect of the success of the idea of Bauhaus.
Thank you very much, Claudia. And this gives me also the opportunity to say that the question was raised by Madeleine van Leppen, director of the Associations of Dutch Designers. Actually, Madeleine van Leppen is on the list of our guests for the upcoming events we will have with the Netherlands on December 10th. This gives me also the opportunity, while I'm waiting for Katrin Ostwald-Richter for the final remarks, to say that tomorrow, always at 6 p.m. Central Europe timing, we will have the second episode of the A New European Bauhaus, and we will have France as our guest. And I would be, of course, co-hosting this panel in collaboration with Linda Marchetti, director of the Institut Français here in Milan. We will have Constance Guisset, French designer with a long experience in the Italian European design system. We will have Dominique Chamat, president of the French Design Association and director of the École de Design Cergy Paris Université, also former director of the Straight School in Sèvres. I always apologize for my bad French accent. And then also Philippe Tabet, French designer based in Milano, and Jean-Louis Fréchine, architect, designer, and curator of digital design projects. Katrin, to you for the final remarks, and then we will thank our guest for the contribution.
Okay, I think we've touched a lot of details under the framework Bauhaus, and just to mention that my first ideas when I read this press release, I thought, hey, what we have done all those years. There are so many activities, there are so many platforms, there are so many conferences, and they are already going in this direction. So my big question is, as you said, Claudia Banz, what does the politics now? And the first reaction in Germany I saw was Deutsche Gesellschaft für nachhaltiges Bauen. There's an organization for sustainable construction. So they were the very first who said, well, we need new laws. And so this is only one aspect. So my first question would be how we connect all those activities, activists, ongoing movements that are doing the right thing already. But we have to finish our conversation, and I'd like to finish with the very last words of this call, the new Bauhaus, and it is building the world of tomorrow for tomorrow that is greener, more beautiful, and human. Thank you all for being part of it.
Thank you, Katrin Richter-Ostwald, for this final remark. I would love to thank Claudia Banz, Mario Antonioli, Willie Dumas, and also Margit Jäschke, because with the image of this space painted by the artist, we also need to remember that the legacy and the memory of this school is something to study and to work on it from the positive and instructive points that Margit Jäschke was underlining, but also for conflicts and debates that this example generates. We don't know yet what the new Bauhaus will be, but we are working together to write down notes, and with the different European countries in this format, we will try to fulfill a sort of an informal dictionary. I would love to say goodbye and see you tomorrow, and thank you to everyone. With this remark, one of our guests following the conversation is writing in the chat, and his name is Emanuele Gatti, is honorary professor in the SAU, the old DIA or the old Bauhaus. He said, I supported completely the initiative. I question if the choice of the logo Bauhaus is appropriate. The Bauhaus is often seen like a mythological institution, not considering also the conflicts and the fights and the power and social nightmares that it generates. We all aware of these, and we know that this is just, you know, a story that we want to take all the good part and the constructive, positive positions that they can bring to the present debate. So thank you very much to all the guests. Thank you, Goethe-Institut Mailand, and thank you once again to Mario Antonioli, Willy Dumas, to Margit Jäschke, and to Claudia Banz for their contribution and their time. And of course, we say also good evening to Tulga Beyerle, Director of the Museum for Kunstgewerbemuseum in Hamburg, that she couldn't be with us, and we wish you a fast recovery. Thank you very much, and have a good evening from Triennale di Milano.